What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. For those of you that tune in regularly, you'll notice that we have a little bit of a change of angle on today's episode. I'll be going through the top 10 fitness social media brands, and I'll give you guys my opinions on them. I'll also rank them going from S tier all the way down to F tier. A little bit of a disclaimer: this is a fun, lighthearted video, not to be taken seriously. I'm giving you guys my personal opinions. If there's something that I say that doesn't align with what you think, that isn't to say that you're wrong, I'm right. This is, again, a very personal and subjective matter. I just wanted to share something that I thought was fun, and I always look at these brands kind of very analytically, and I wanted to share my opinions on them. So without further ado, we will get right into the episode. Hey guys, and welcome to Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you here. On this channel, we discuss all things sports fashion, graphic design, manufacturing, and technology. We'll discuss key topics, answer pressing questions, and provide actionable steps on starting your own product line. If you're interested in any of the above topics, stick around. You're in for a good one. Getting right into it, we'll be reviewing these brands on 4 key and quick categories. Number 1 is their value proposition. 2, social media presence, how they use social media. 3, authenticity and uniqueness. 4, their fabrics and their tech. We'll start off first with Gymshark, a brand that needs no introduction, a brand that's done phenomenally well scaling. Their value proposition is pretty decent. They price competitively. They have the scale, they have the economies of scale that they need to negotiate. And because they target such a wide market, they need to keep their prices down to get that market. They also need to continue to grow their revenue. Their social media presence, definitely great. They're extremely active. They're always looking for new ways to integrate themselves on social. They're the forefathers of creating the athlete sheet, the list, creating that influencer marketing campaign, Snapchat takeovers, so on and so forth. So they do that really well. Their uniqueness and authenticity. Gymshark has always been a brand that has a cool look and feel, but I think over the last couple of years, it's taken a little bit of a hit as they've become too diluted as a brand. They have too much to offer because they're trying to target too wide of a base. So they've definitely taken a hit. And in fabrics and technology, they have decent fabrics. I don't think that their focus is on continuously innovating or offering functional fabrics or fabrics of a higher tier because they're so focused on that mass market. So that's an area they can definitely work in. Because of those, I'm going to give Gymshark I'll give them an A tier just because of how well they've done scaling the business. Number 2 is going to be Aloe. Again, a brand that needs no introduction, brand that is extremely authentic, created by YouTuber Christian Guzman. So when it comes to value proposition, Aloe is not as large as Gymshark. That means that I think when it comes to their pricing, they can't focus on competitive pricing. What Aloe's focus has always been is in selecting the right types of products for the right types of customers with the best detailing and the best fabrics. They do that extremely well. Their social media presence has always been so interesting to me. Aloe is on a hype launch schedule, so they don't post extremely or nearly as much as Gymshark or some of the other brands on social, and they kind of make you miss them in a way. Their visuals are beautiful. They've always been great at storytelling since the beginning, since their sort of Christian Guzman vlog roots, and their uniqueness and authenticity, I think, is one of the realest. Aloe is extremely focused on creating a look and feel to their products and only launching the right types of products that feed into their customer base that they know and love. So they're an extremely unique and authentic brand that I think are going to continue going down their own lane, and that's a major plus for them. When it comes to their fabrics and tech, definitely their fabrics is something that I see they agonize over. They split up their core collections based on their fabrics, and I know that those fabrics go a lot of trial and testing before they get approved. Their technology, I think they can work on. It's not an easy sector to tap into. It needs a lot of professional expertise, but they can definitely look at certain key categories and see how we can improve the performance of our fabrics, the performance of our garments. So for that, I'm going to give Aloe, honestly, I'll give them A tier. I'll put them at the A tier. I think that they're doing a lot well, but of course, it's a company that can continue to grow, and they will continue to grow. Number 3 is going to be Aloe Yoga. So Aloe Yoga is a brand that I don't have personal experience with, but a brand that I see quite often. When it comes to their value proposition, I know that Aloe Yoga is not priced extremely competitively. I know that some of their items can be quite expensive when it comes to their core demographic market. There's also a lot of competition, so value proposition is not quite there. Their social media presence is really good. They know how to play the game. They know how to integrate with the right types of personalities. They've cultivated this look and feel around the yoga subgenre, and they're sort of crossing over into athleisure and bombshell sportswear. So they do that pretty well. Their uniqueness and authenticity. So Aloe has been interesting. I think back in the day, they were a bit more authentic, but again, as you grow and as you become more mass market, you start to lose that a little bit. So I think based on what I'm seeing, there's really not a lot that I'm currently seeing on their page that distinguishes them from brands XYZ. Yes, they had a great starting point, but I think that over time and as you grow that customer base, it becomes extremely tough not to dilute yourself. They're risking doing that. When it comes to their fabrics and their technology, a lot of their items are quite basic in the sense that it's leggings, active shorts, bras, and that's very specific and very, let's just say, very limited. They don't really employ too much efforts into looking at how we can improve our fabrics, their performance, their stretchability. I think the quality from what I've seen and what I've read is good, it's acceptable, but it lacks a little bit on the variety. And if you look at a company like Lululemon, yes, they're offering a bunch of different types of leggings and shorts, but each legging and short comes in a variety of fabrics and each one has a little bit of a different stance to offer. So there's something for everyone, whether you want a lightweight running legging or you want a heavy duty performance legging. So I think Aloe kind of dropped the ball a little bit there, but again, that's my personal opinion. I'm going to put Aloe Yoga on a B tier just because of, again, how large they are, and really that kind of growth is not easy to manage. We'll look at Asrv. So again, Asrv is a very interesting brand. It's a brand that is exclusively for men. That's a conscious choice that they've taken, and believe me when I say a brand that's solely targeted to males is not an easy brand. Guys are extremely tough to convince to buy, especially the price points that they're at when it comes to their value propositions. So it's very, let's just say this is a very controversial topic. Asrv's items are at the minimum priced at around $60 to $70 for some of their more basic shirts, their Pima cotton shirts, their Silverline shirts, and they can go up to $300, $400. Some of their items if they have their special drops. Yes, I understand that there's a lot of unique fabrics, fabric technologies. They employ a lot of anti-odor, sweat wicking, anti-soil. They really take a lot of pride in that. But when it comes to the value prop, I don't think that some of these items are worth those prices. They're decent, but they're not worth 60, 70, 80, 90, sometimes $200. So their social media presence is great. They don't really integrate that much with influencers, or they don't really play that game, which is an interesting take. They kind of feel a bit more underground, but at the same time still having the presence. They shoot their products beautifully. I think they put a lot of time and effort into creating that look and feel. I need to give them props there. So I would say that outweighs the fact that they're not really integrating with ambassadors and athletes. And I think that helps them maintain a unique or a VIP feel to their brand. That plays into the fact that you should spend a little bit more to get their products. Uniqueness and authenticity. I'm going to give them A plus on this one. They know who they are. They know who their target market is. And I don't think, at the moment at least, that they're willing to wane away from that. They're extremely confident in that, and that is something to be commended, especially at that size. I definitely recommend checking them out if you have them as a budget. It's a brand that is often copied, I think, especially as someone who sees the sportswear industry. A lot of people are looking at creating more affordable versions of Asrv, and I think rarely are they able to execute on that, because it is extremely tough, and I'll give them props for that. Fabrics and tech, A+. I think, yes, some of their fabrics are not worth the prices that they're offering, and a lot of it is just wording and trademarks and copyrights, but they are always focused on functional fabrics and offering fabrics that can enhance the wearer's experience. So for that, I'm going to give Asrv A, and yeah, they do really well to stay in their own lane and to kind of cultivate a look and feel for their brand that others just aren't doing. Number 3, we have Buff Bunny. So this is a fun brand. Brand started by Heidi Sommers, and I like Buff Bunny. I'm not a girl, and nor do they make clothing for men, at the moment at least, but what I really, really enjoy about Buff Bunny is the authenticity. They know who they are and they have a lot of fun with that. Their value proposition is decent. Again, it's not great. You're definitely going to be able to find more affordable options that offer similar types of items, but that's one of the challenges growing a company at the same time needing to invest into growing that manufacturing, the advertising, whatever internals they have. You need to be able to generate a profit. Then if the prices that these entrepreneurs are charging, it's not going all into their pocket. They're investing a lot of it into growing this business, and I think a brand like Buff Bunny is really good at staying in their own lane and knowing what makes them different than brands XYZ. Their social media presence is interesting, beautifully shot. They always run these amazing campaigns, whether it's for a model search or whether they're launching a new line of swimwear or a new pattern print line. I think that they have such a fun look and feel to the brand. It kind of plays into that who Buff Bunny is, or the Buff Bunny look and feel, and they're very adamant on that. Their uniqueness and authenticity. Interesting. So Buff Bunny, I think, started off with a little bit too much of a Lululemon feel, and it's tough not to get inspired from a brand like Lulu, especially with how much they're doing. But I definitely think that it's a brand that over time has learned the ropes and kind of seen what their customers want to buy from them, what they want to see from them, and sort of carved out their own unique look and feel. I love some of the kind of fabric legging skirts and dresses that they've done. I think that those are such cool types of products, and they offer a different look and a different segment to the industry. So that is pretty cool. I give them definitely an A+ for their uniqueness and authenticity. Their fabrics and tech, fine. They have decent fabrics. They have decent technology. But again, these are not the highlights of a brand like Buff Bunny. It's more the brand experience, the models, and kind of the way that they present themselves. So for that, I'm going to give them around a C or B on that. When it comes to Buff Bunny, I'm going to put them at a B level. They still have a lot of work to do, but I think they're on the right track. NVGTN. This is an interesting brand. So when it comes to NVGTN, it's a brand I've heard a lot of. Obviously, you've seen the leggings, you've seen the seamless leggings with the little butt contouring. I don't understand what the hype is about NVGTN. It's a seamless legging with non-proprietary seamless yarns, probably a polyester nylon spandex blend. Their value proposition. What does a NVGTN legging cost? Let's just see quickly. So, women's. Got this live on camera right now. Check them out. Wow, all their items are sold out. This is so interesting. Okay, so $48 for a seamless pair of leggings. I would put that legging at probably raw cost for them would be around $5. But again, it's fine. They're playing the game. I think their value proposition is fine. They're not overcharging, but I know they're definitely a brand that is focused on their social media presence. NVGTN is everywhere. They've played the game really well. I think they've been able to capture that special moment that is kind of like propagated throughout the social media realm. They've known how to capitalize on some of their core products, which types of influencers to integrate with. So they're definitely playing the social media game extremely well on all platforms, Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok. And I think that's the reason for a lot of their growth. When it comes to their uniqueness and authenticity, I'm going to give it a 0. Honestly, this is like every other seamless brand that I've ever seen. They're not the first to come up with the contour lines, but I think that they've done a good job popularizing it. They have a decent look and feel to them, but it's not something that is especially authentic or unique to NVGTN. They've just been really good at propagating that brand. Their fabrics and their tech, from what I can see, from what I'm reading, very standard. I think that at that price point, $48 for a seamless legging, they have to sacrifice a little bit on some of those proprietary yarns, try to get things that are more generic. When it comes to their performance, I think it's going to be fine. They're content with putting out a good product at a great price to capitalize on a large market and playing the social media game really well. I'm going to give NVGTN a C tier just because it's not my personal cup of tea. Bow plus T. So this is a interesting brand, a new one that I've seen on my radar. When it comes to bow and tee, their value proposition. Well, what does a bow and tee item cost? Let's just see that quickly. Bow and tee. I did some research. I mean, I'm a little bit familiar, but Bow and Tea. So this seems to be a UK-based brand, which they are. They're putting out a nice blend of streetwear and activewear. So I think that's the lane that they're trying to carve out for themselves, sort of like Fashion Nova on activewear steroids. Their pricing seems to be very competitive. They're taking the Gymshark route, try to get as many people to buy in as possible, push on their ambassadors, push on their influencers. So their value proposition is decent. The quality of the items looks decent. The workmanship, I think that they're offering some interesting styles. Their social media presence is great. They're knowing how to play the game, how to create a consistent rollout of new product to get people hooked, keep them coming back time and time again. They are definitely playing that game really well. Their uniqueness and authenticity. This is kind of interesting. If they had not taken this sort of streetwear infused approach, I would be a little bit more hesitant. But I think that they're trying to carve out a different lane for themselves in the activewear, sportswear space. They're definitely trying to build on that from what I'm seeing. They're offering items that are sort of a blend of bombshell sportswear and more street-focused apparel. So I think their uniqueness is definitely there, and they're working on that. Their fabrics and their tech. Their fabrics definitely look to be very standard, very run-of-the-mill. I think they're acceptable from what I'm seeing, from what I'm reading. I'll give that a B. When it comes to Bow and Tea, I'll give it a solid B. Next up, we have Acta. So Acta, this is a brand that's been on my radar for a while when it comes to Acta. Their value proposition. Their items are extremely expensive. So Acta, let's be honest with ourselves, they're definitely going the Lululemon route, trying to target a more premium customer, more mature customer that's able to pay more. I don't think their products are quite there. Their value proposition is not the best, but I think that that's something that they're aspiring and trying to work to. They definitely put a lot of effort into their social media look and feel, their model campaigns, their videos. I think there's a lot of investment in that route, and they're definitely trying to give something that feels authentic to them. It's very tough to escape that Lululemon comparison, especially when you're targeting that Lululemon market, that soft activewear market, a bit more mature in its approach than some of the bombshell sportswear items or Gymshark. So their social media presence is good. They're definitely investing into consistently creating new campaigns. When it comes to their uniqueness and authenticity, Acta, it resembles a lot of the brands that I've seen. I think they do it better than most, and I think they're trying to desperately carve out their own lane. They have this giving back initiative, which is interesting. They're definitely trying to put in the pieces that will push their uniqueness apart, but it's just tough to escape that comparison between Lululemon and a company like Acta when a lot of their product categories are so identical. That's definitely an area that I think Acta has a lot of opportunity to work on and to continue to carve out the Acta story, and I'm confident they will, but that's just something to bear in mind. When it comes to their fabrics and their tech, there's definitely an investment into looking at what types of fabrics to offer. How can we make our fabrics better than the standard brands out there? But I don't think that they're quite there. I know from what I've read, from what I've seen, that the fabrics that they're offering are good. They're not great, especially when you're trying to compare them to like a Lululemon Align legging. Those types of leggings, they're going to be at another level. I think Acta are trying to work to get to that position, and I think the initiative is there, but I think at the moment we're not quite there yet. So for Acta, I'm going to give them a solid C. Put them right there. Done. Next up, we got Riderwear. So Riderwear is a brand that, again, is well known. I've seen them around for a long time. I'm familiar with their items. Riderwear. So Riderwear to me represents kind of like every single segment of sportswear mashed up into one. Whatever that they can make, they're trying to make. They have a large exposure, but I think that exposure is not enough. So their value proposition, I know that they're priced quite competitively. Again, at that level, at that size, you're trying to sell at scale. You want to sell as many units as possible, so you're going to have to price competitively. Their value proposition is decent. I don't think that their quality is as good as some of the other brands out there that are also offering similar price points. Their social media presence is fine, What I always notice with Riderwear is it just lacks a unique look. Like you could slap on any other brand's logo on here and be like, oh, that totally makes sense. That's brand XYZ, or that's this, or that's that. It lacks an authenticity. This is just what I'm seeing. There's nothing really in any of their product lineups or any of their categories or any of their campaigns that really sets them apart, that really tells me that they're trying to give their own story. When it comes to their fabrics and their technology, I don't think that there's anything there that is worth even looking at. It's definitely a market or a brand that's trying to capitalize a mass market. So fabrics and tech is not going to be at the top of their list. For that, I'm going to give Riderwear a D. I apologize, Riderwear, but that's what we're going to give you today. Going up, Tala. So Tala is a new brand We Are Tala. It's also been on my radar. Interesting brand. So when it comes to their value proposition, I know that Tala is considered to be an expensive brand. I think that they need those price points for what they're trying to do. So let's look at some of their price points quickly. 54 pounds, 54, so 42 pounds. They're not as mass market as, let's just say, Gymshark or a company like Bow & T. They're definitely priced at a slightly higher tier, around the athlete tier. When it comes to the value proposition, I know that their focus is a lot on giving back, on using recycled materials. They look at their humanitarian impact on the world. That's cool. And I think a lot of people appreciate that. That's a pretty cool initiative. And I think that's one of the reasons that they've grown so fast in such a short amount of time. When it comes to their social media presence, Tala's social media presence is good. They're actively working on it. They're trying to curate this look and feel to what it means to wear a Tala product. It's this very like pristine, hazy, dreamy look. And they work on that, and they're always trying to push that. I think it's pretty good. And they're definitely making the rounds on social media in the right ways, I think. Their uniqueness and authenticity. This is where it gets a little bit interesting. There's enough in there to warrant the fact that they're pushing to cultivate or to grow their own look and feel for the brand. But I think that in some of their key product categories, they come up short. Some of their seamless items, their cut and sew leggings and tops, there's just not enough in there to differentiate them from a brand like Acta or a brand like Lulu. Very simple, very like standard. They have a little bit more of like a sexy theme to some of their items, but in general, I think some of their product categories they can work on. Some of the other product categories, I know that they're doing some sleepwear, some more of their outerwear items. That could be interesting. I'm curious to see how they tie that into the core brand. I wonder if they would consider themselves a sportswear brand or a lifestyle brand, because it's kind of a little bit of both, and the way that they're mixing it is definitely quite interesting. Their fabrics and their tech, I'll give them an A+. They're definitely pushing to work with sustainable fabrics that are good for the environment. Again, I don't know much about the inner workings of how they work with the factories and all that, but I think that they are trying to push to create something that is sustainable, and I think that that's something a lot of their core customers really appreciate. So Tala is going to get a B. Next up, we have Coral. This is a brand that considers itself as designer fashion. So it's a brand that is looking to kind of put itself in a different category. If you frequent Net-a-Porter, Revolve, Carbon 38, you'll have probably heard of Coral before. Very expensive brand. When it comes to their value proposition, they're priced, their leggings are priced between $80 to $200, depending on what style you're going for. I don't think their value proposition is quite there. You can get a lot more for a lot less with other brands that we've mentioned on the same list. Their social media presence, I think Coral tends to function more as a traditional, or in the traditional fashion sense, in the way they launch their collections, the way they advertise. Their social media presence is not quite there. They're not a brand that you would have heard of if you don't, again, frequent those websites like Carbon 38, Net-a-Porter. So I think there's a little bit to do with that route. Their uniqueness and authenticity. I think they're trying to carve out a lane for themselves that feels unique to them, this designer look and feel, but it's a space that is extremely competitive, and it's always going to be almost impossible to truly be 100% unique and original. I think that's also a space that they can work on, and when it comes to the Coral look and feel, differentiating that from other types of brands in that same space. Their fabrics and tech, they're going to be good. It's a brand that is focused on great quality fabrics, good technology. They use a lot of sustainable materials. They use a lot of high performance materials in their items. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with the quality of a coral legging. I just don't think it's worth that price. But again, if that's a market segment that you're targeting and people are willing to pay that price, then again, that's totally fine. But overall, I'm going to give Coral a C. Decent brand, but I think that there is kind of some missed opportunities there. Able. Able is, again, an interesting brand, a typically social media brand. So Able is very similar to NVGTN in the sense that if you look at what they're offering almost exclusively seamless apparel. They have sort of capitalized on that seamless trend and gone all in. When it comes to their value proposition, I know that a lot of the Able items, they're well priced, they're a good quality, and they definitely focus on mass market appeal. They definitely have good value proposition there. Their social media presence, they're definitely active on social media. They advertise a lot. They built up their influencer network, their ambassador network. So they're definitely playing the social media game well. They're growing quite fast. When it comes to their uniqueness and authenticity, this is where I think Able drops the ball a little bit. They take too many cues from companies like Gymshark, and I understand with a company like Gymshark being so large and so relevant, it's almost tough for these kinds of items not to cross paths, especially when let's just say you're actually looking at the same types of product categories, seamless, cut and sew. I think that this is an area that Able can definitely take a step back, look at who the types of people that are buying their products are, and really push to create something that feels even more unique and authentic to their core programs. I think that they're in the right space and they have the right growth to allow them to get there. Their fabrics and their technology, fine. I know that people like Able products. They say that they're good products, but nothing special. They're using very standard products. I think what you're getting is good for the price, but there's a lot of room to improve there. So for Able, I'm going to give them a solid B. Lastly, PE Nation. This is an interesting brand. I think it's a brand with a lot of visual appeal. They're very vibrant. They have this sort of modern retro vibe going about them. A lot of color blocking, a lot of bright colors. They offer bad value proposition. Again, they're very similar to Coral in the sense that this is a pair of leggings that you're buying for between $100 and $200. Leggings honestly should not be costing that amount, especially the fact that you understand leggings can be made of one of two things, nylon or polyester. Those are the options. You can't get that fancy. Yes, you can look at sourcing yarns from countries like Italy where you're getting softer and more supple yarns, but at the end of the day, a legging is a legging. So these brands are focused on their designer look and feel, but PE Nation's value proposition I don't think is that good. Social media presence. Similar to Coral, they're taking a more traditional fashion approach, especially the way they distribute their products is on companies like Revolve, Net-a-Porter. So their social media approach is a bit lacking. It's not a brand that you would have heard of if you don't frequent Pinterest or these other kinds of like third-party retailers, but they do have a clean aesthetic to their brand, and it plays into who and what they're trying to be. Their uniqueness and authenticity. I think they do this pretty well. PE Nation's always been bold. It's always had that fashion root in it. They definitely push that look and feel, and they try to maintain that. So I'll definitely give their uniqueness and authenticity an A. And when it comes to their fabrics and their technology, again, most likely you're going to buy a PE Nation item and you're going to like the fabric, but it's not going to be justified in the price. When it comes to the technology, there's nothing in there that is especially special or cutting edge. And they're just offering a good quality fabric at obviously a very high price, but really not pushing down that route. Again, that may not be something that they want to do, but it is something that we're judging them on today. So for that, I'm going to give PE Nation a C. And that is pretty much it, guys. I know this video was a little bit all over the place. I tried to make it more structured. This was a little bit fun. Hopefully, you guys gained some insights. Let me know what your personal list would be. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different than mine. There are a lot of cool brands out there. If you want us to do more of these commentary or review style videos, Let us know what you'd like to see. We're trying to change it up a little bit. I'm someone who's extremely into sportswear. I love designing it, and I have a lot of opinions on the industry, and I'd love to share them with you if you guys would be willing to hear them. Guys, thank you so much if you stuck to the end of this video, for tuning into this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.